Welcome to Oaa Now, your home for Oakland Activities Association news and information. Here's your host, Sammy Taramina.
Welcome to Oaa Now, everybody. I'm Sammy Taramina, blogger, the Dragon's Den, blogger of Inside the OAA, and one of the hosts between Terminas and Orion Neighborhood Television. I'd like to also welcome our friends hearing or watching now on YouTube. Of course, we got a camera here now.
Our food drive is coming up, as you know,
yes,
Sam.
Yes, it is in 2 weeks. Of course,
yep.
Especially for those in the Lake Orion, Oxford, Clarkston areas, you know what I mean? Come up to Lake Orion, or even in Southern Oakland County, come up north to Lake Orion and support the Orion on TV Fish Drive.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys, the guys from BT, will be live around 3 o'clock to 3:30 doing your thing live on our food drive on Comcast Channel 10, 20, and 22 here in the Orion area. And again, thank you guys for doing that again. But we got an interesting show today, yeah? Tell us all about it.
We got a big one coming up. We got Clarkston, Hazel Park. Of course, we're going to briefly describe the history of Hazel Park basketball. There has not been really hardly any history describing Hazel Park basketball. Of course, now they're stepping up to the big shoes tonight. Big shoes. They got a big one with Clarkston. For the red title. Likely will be at stake in that one down at Hazel Park.
So you're calling it, this is it? This is the title match?
I'm calling it. Well, they still got to play they still got to play one more time. You know what I mean? It'll be down at Clarkston. But a lot of people been hyping that matchup up. We've been hyping it up for about a couple weeks now. But we're also going to talk about some other basketball teams, why I think that home sweet home will benefit the Oxford Wildcats.
Yes.
And, of course, the Berkley Bears. You know what I mean? Is that 10-2 record a fluke or not? So after what happened on Thursday night at the hands of Lake Orion.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the big one. Of course, it is Hazel Park and Clarkston. Yeah. I wrote a column on this, and I said this is the biggest game in Hazel Park history. And the reason why I say this is because Hazel Park has not had They have not had a basketball prowess. Of course, they're in their history that we've known that they've gotten football, we've known they've gotten wrestling, we know in other sports, but basketball has not been their thing. And Brenda Barrett's done a really nice job developing this program. Of course, this was a team that won one game 5 years ago,
which is astonishing.
And they were in the gold division. To see where they are at, how they developed. They got 2 4-year players on their team with Carl Bow and David Hearns is on that team. When you look at Hazel Park, basically where they've developed, of course, there's a reason why they sit undefeated, despite the fact they only have 10 players. But when you look at
10 players,
10 players. But when you look at Hazel Park, the way that they're playing, they're undefeated. Played a vicious schedule.
Yes.
When you're beating teams namely a lot of Detroit teams, especially East English Village Prep and Detroit University of Detroit Jesuit.
Yes.
Hazel Park right now, this is a team to be taken seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, the schedule they've run is one of the toughest we've seen around.
Mm-hmm. When you're playing all those Detroit teams, it's not easy to do.
No, and coming out clean on the L column.
Yeah, and of course beating one of the let's not forget. They beat the Catholic League, one of the Catholic League favorites. Of course, now you can pretty much say the UOD Jesuit game, the way they won that one. Now the Cubs did not have Jalen Thomas, who transferred back from I believe Las Vegas. Either that or Colorado. So now he's back for them.
Oh, I don't want to hear that word transfer ever again.
And he'll likely be playing against Hazel Park when the district at Detroit Renaissance, and that's gonna be a vicious district right there when Hazel Park gets there.
Yeah.
But when you look at the Vikings, this is a team, as mentioned, 0 to something, and to have this type of game on your home floor, in a small gym, basically, this is for Hazel Park. Last season had a lot of success. Of course, they took home the white championship. They shared it with Troy. And then, of course, winning their first district championship since 1965.
Wow.
And
so historic.
It was historic.
There's historic play going on.
But then they lost to Detroit Collegiate Prep and Northwestern last year, 80-59. They've used that as motivation.
Absolutely.
To get them, and Brendan Barrett really toughened up the schedule. I mean, so when you look at Hazel Park, where they have gotten, basically to say that this program has basically been from the doldrums to basically to up here.
Ashes to the penthouse.
Yep, and now you got one of the biggest games ever, and now they're ranked number 2 in the state. Going up against arguably the top team in the state.
So number one versus
number two. I mean, so when you look at this matchup, on paper, and we'll go over this matchup and why I think Clarkston's going to kill Hazel Park tonight.
You think so?
Yep. And the reason why
even at home in the bandbox?
Uh-huh.
Really?
And I'll tell you why they will.
Okay.
I mean, when you really look at this matchup, yeah, Hazel Park's played a tough schedule.
Yes.
But, when you look at, despite the fact, and I got some concerns with Hazel Park, now, yeah, they're winning. They got a ton of experience.
Yeah.
They've beaten a couple of really good teams in Troy and West Bloomfield.
Okay. What are their flaws?
Here is their major flaws. They don't have another guy. They don't have a lot of size on that team. Now, they got plenty of dribble drivers, 3-point shooting, guys that can make playmaking ability. And the other problem that I have is their lack of depth. You know what I mean? Because as we mentioned, Hazel Park plays only 10 guys. And
you get in any foul trouble, you're toast.
I know Hazel Park's played a lot of different lineup combinations. But what they're going to see in Clarkston is you got a guy in Foster Lawyer who is a Michigan State recruit.
Yes.
And he's got a ton of experience. You have a defensive stopper in C.J. Robinson. These two teams played last year, as mentioned. We'll go over that in a minute. And then you have, of course, Nick Wells, who's a defensive stopper as well. And then where I think Hazel Park could be in some serious trouble tonight, it's going to be inside. I think they're going to be in some serious trouble.
Okay.
When you look at Taylor Curie, a Wisconsin commit, and then you have a guy like Tristan Myson, who can basically go inside out. Basically, he can do some damage inside. Now, Hazel Park's not a good defensive team. They are not. I mean, they've given up nearly 60 points, you know what I mean, on a couple occasions.
Okay.
I know they're athletic. They're very talented. But the reason why I think they're going to get killed by Clarkston is because of this. Last year at Clarkston, it was 66-46 in favor of Clarkston.
Okay.
And the reason why I think they're going to get killed is because the inside game, I think, is going to be too much for them. Because I think Clarkston will find a way to shut everybody down, But then again, when you look at Hazel Park, they really have not been healthy. I mean, they weren't healthy in that game with Clarkston.
Injury, you mean last year?
Last year's game, they weren't healthy. Now, yeah, they're healthy. They got Clarkston there. Everybody at Hazel Park is excited. Everybody down there is really excited. Really, they're pumped for this one. But Clarkston, this is Clarkston.
Yeah.
I mean, Clarkston likes to beat upstart teams.
Yep.
They've got a habit of it. They've got a history of this.
Yep.
And
like you're saying, if inside game's going to kill them,
yeah,
they could also run into foul trouble that way because if you can't match up and you're going up against a big man that you can't stop and you're undersized, you're going to tack on the fouls.
That's what I think is going to happen here because Hazel Park's played an aggressive press defense.
Yeah,
I get that, but the issue is, who knows if the crowd plays a factor in this one,
which it should.
Which
number 1 versus number 2, the place is going to be packed to the rafters.
And that's a small gym down there. But if the crowd plays a factor and Hazel Park's now Hazel Park's not afraid. They're not intimidated, and they shouldn't be intimidated.
No.
Because especially when you play that type of schedule. But, but there is a weakness Clarkston's got, and Hazel Park could exploit it tonight. They could exploit it.
Share it. Come on.
Here it is. Here it is. And it's not good if we don't have a drum roll. But
Do I have a drum roll?
I don't think you do.
I don't think I do.
But here's what it is. Clarkston's gotten exposed by scoring guards, you know? Let's not forget, in their loss to Southfield last season.
Wait.
I was a little late.
A little late.
But I'll tell you what happened.
Thank you, Joe Johnson, for adding that.
Clarkston really has been exposed by scoring guards. Let's look at last year's game. Of course, when they lost to Southfield Arts and Tech, I mean, Michael Flowers just killed him. He absolutely killed him. I don't know how many points he had in that game, but he was a big part of that game. And let's look at this year. We talked about David Julius at Detroit East English.
Yes.
He had 42 of Clarkson's 80 points in that 80-71 win for Detroit East English over Clarkson. So Clarkson's got some trouble guarding, scoring first guards. And now Hazel Park's got 3 guys that can score. 3 can really go off, have 20-point games. When you look at Carbo,
can they score from all over? Outside, are they 3-point shooters as well?
They can. I mean, they've got to be hitting on all cylinders if they want to pull this off. I mean, they got to be hitting on all cylinders.
Yeah.
And I think for them, as to now, if Foster Lloyd were to get into foul trouble, or C.J. Robinson or Nick Wells, that changes the whole mindset.
Yes.
Because, when you look at, but if Hazel Park decides to go get the big Taylor Curie into foul trouble, this is where I think Hazel Park's going to run into trouble. Because Clarkson's got depth, to go along with Curie. When you look at guys on that lineup, you look at guys like Hank Scheima, of course, he's the Virginia transfer. You look at, of course, Chase Wasilic, Matt Nicholson, Garrett Dillinger, their freshman who played on football, and you look at and Meissen. So when you look at that lineup, Hazel Park's got a tall order against them.
Yeah.
And when you look at that matchup, and that's not even talking about the coaching matchup with Brendan Barrett going up against Dan Fife.
Mm-hmm. A legend.
Dan Fife is a legend. So
versus an upstart.
Or
longer than an upstart.
Yeah, he's been there 5 years.
Yeah.
So, but when I look at that matchup, I think Bo's gonna get his. I think Hearns will get his. I think Pettis will get his. But I think the difference is gonna be Taylor Curie inside. Because Hazel Park's got no answer for Taylor Curie. They don't. I'd be shocked if he has a bad game against them. I'd be shocked if he has a bad game. Because I think what's going to happen is, in that matchup, is it's going to be so rowdy in that gym. It is going to
that's
be...
an understatement, Sam. And you have to think that, Clarkston's season 2, they won it all last year. So how will that affect them? I know it's a different team. It's a new year. But they're more experienced too.
Mm-hmm.
But to go into that atmosphere and that environment, sometimes it's just enough, to throw them off one or a couple possessions late in the game that might just throw it when you have a rowdy crowd. If Clarkston takes the crowd out of the game, they'll walk out of there quickly and easily.
And when you look at Clarkston, and when you look at what's been going around Hazel Park, of course, we know what happened last year with the announcing incident. We know, and we know what happened with and we know that Hazel Park is not necessarily a perfect area. When you look at
they've had incidents after a game,
they've had
a little rumble or two in the gym. Yeah.
And security, is going to have to be tight down there.
Absolutely.
It's going to have to be really, really tight down there. Because you got 2 top teams in the state, and you have, of course, I think, when you really look at last year, with security and all that down there, it really wasn't the greatest.
Yeah.
But still, so you got to worry about, I think you got to worry about player safety here.
Yeah. Well, I think it'll be okay. We haven't heard of many incidents down there and that sort of thing. So I think if people behave. They know the whole state will be watching this game. So,
Correct.
Everybody will be hopefully on their best behavior. I'm poking around the MHSAA site here to see if the game is televised.
I don't think it is.
It's not. I'm poking around. It's not.
No.
And I don't think Clarkston's going to take their video crew on the road and
No, they don't
record this
usually.
one.
They
But
don't usually. I mean,
so
but when you look at what Hazel Park has done, you know what I mean?
Yep.
What Hazel Park has done as a basketball team, they have developed that team. They have
how many
gotten
transfers?
none. None.
See, that goes to your. I mean,
None.
the whole argument. It's like let the local kids play.
Mm-hmm. They have not had any transfers come down there. And they have been a team that has been waiting for this moment.
Yeah.
You got a ton of 3-year, 4-year players on that team having to take their lumps.
Yep.
They've took their lumps, and now they're here.
And you know they appreciate it because the guys, the 4-year guys, rode that wave up. I mean, right? They saw how bad it was, decided, hey, we can be a part of that, the fix. We'll be there to try to help rebuild this thing. Work hard, and now it's paying off for them.
It's paying off for them. You know, now they're up. They went up from the gold, went up to the white, and then last year, and then now they're up in the red.
Yeah.
And now you have the test. And the test is the defending state champions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've had a big win against Troy. Troy was a state quarterfinalist last year. West Bloomfield on the road. West Bloomfield was a state Final Four team last year.
Yeah.
And you look at
really good wins
really
on that
good
roster.
wins.
You look at that rundown.
And then, of course, you look at beating all those Detroit teams, including East English Village Prep, Detroit Pershing. They've beaten Detroit Henry Ford. I mean, like, all those wins been really, really huge for this program. Yeah. But now comes the test. Now comes, I think personally, will be the biggest test in Hazel Park's career. And this is why on my blog.
It's true.
I call this game the biggest game in Hazel Park history because it is going to be loud. It is going to be packed. I mean, it's going to be intense down there.
Yeah. These are the type of games players want, right? This is the atmosphere. These are the opponents you want to play. These are the situations you want to be in to see how well you match up with the best of the best, right? And the cool thing is it's happening in the regular season. Again, the OA showing its strength here on the basketball court like they did on the football field. Do you think, let's say you're picking...
I got Clarkston.
Okay, you're picking Clarkston. What if the upset happens?
If the upset happens,
do you think that could catapult them on?
Hazel Park's got a chance in this one, and I'll tell you why they got a chance. And I mentioned it earlier. Yeah. I said if Bo, Hearns, Pettis all go off,
yes,
they all have to get maybe at least 20, 15, 15.
Wow,
to pull this off.
And they've done that.
They've got it. Yep, they have done it before. And you have to get Foster Lawyer. You have to get Taylor Curie in the foul trouble.
Yeah.
Because if there is a way to beat Clarkston, you have to have a guard who goes nuts. You know?
That is true.
You have to have a guard that goes nuts. Hazel Park's got 3. The only concern that I got about this matchup is Hazel Park's depth.
Yeah.
And their height.
Do you see, let's say the upset does happen and Hazel Park's riding high. Do you think that would catapult them to being one of the favorites to take it all? Or do you think it could be like a one-off?
The district?
Or do you think or at least, let's say league or into the districts, do you think that could catapult them to the district?
Hazel Park, if they pull this one off tonight, if they pull this one off against Clarkston, they still got a tough schedule. They got to go to Clarkston.
True.
Got to go to Troy. I mean, they got West Bloomfield coming to Hazel Park. But, you know, and they got a very tough district. Because let's not forget, that district's very, very difficult down at Detroit Renaissance. I mean, you look at Detroit Renaissance, who's solid.
Who else is in that district?
You look at Detroit University, Detroit Jesuits in there.
Yeesh.
They did do that. They did do the draws. I think Hazel Park is playing UAD Jesuit in the
So they know already.
They know already who they're going to get. And I know Oak Park and Berkley are in there. We're going to talk about Berkley in a minute.
All right, yes.
I mean, but for Hazel Park, you know, and remember, this is a school that moved up from Class B to Class A this year.
Yeah.
I mean, so this was last year they had a an okay district. They had a really tough regional.
Yeah.
But now you're up with the big boys, your Class A. They're
To
not
say
afraid.
the least.
They're not afraid. Hazel Park's not afraid.
You shouldn't be. You shouldn't be.
They're not, and I think they relish the fact they're playing in this big time atmosphere. And they relish it.
And the one thing too is you always say the team takes on the personality of their coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that just watching them play and the way they're performing, you can tell the personality of that coach. It's
right
drive,
there,
drive,
yeah.
go, right? So
right, and
that's exciting.
And I think it's a big game for Brendan Barrett. I think it's a big game for him too because he's been in the red. He was a player when he was at Southfield Later back in 2007. Actually, I think it was 2005. But he was on the team that went to state quarterfinal, lost to Saginaw. I mean, so this is a big game for him too. So to take on a team like Clarkston, it's going to be an interesting matchup, to say the least.
Just think you get two heavyweights going at it, throwing the haymakers. If it's a close game, game, the next time they match up,
it'll be at Clarkston.
At Clarkston,
March 1st.
Going to be raucous. I think both games are going to be must-see. You got to get out there and see these games.
I mean, the one at Hazel Park is going to be really interesting. I mean, for Clarkston, imagine them having to travel down I-75 to 9 Mile, and then down to 9 Mile, and then to go to Hughes Avenue. That's going to be
gonna be exciting. I can't wait to see. Can't wait to see the outcome.
Yeah, it'll be a good matchup. I think it's going to be a really, really good game. But it's like everybody's calling it the team that has all the championships, all the hype, versus the upstarts.
Yep.
And Hazel Park right now clearly is the upstart team. But when I look at tonight's matchup, though, I've got Clarkson in this one because.
And what's the date today? Today, the recording of this is the 31st.
They will be playing
January.
tonight. They will be playing tonight. But at the end of the day, I think it's too much depth, too much height. Too much depth, too much height. I think that's the difference in this game. I think, and if it comes down, I think it comes down to the officiating crew. If they
got 1 and 2 coming in, you think they'll play wide open? Think they'll let them go?
If they let them go, you know what I mean? I think that favors, I think that would favor Hazel Park because Hazel Park likes an up-tempo type style. But if it's like a tight officiating crew, I got to give it to Clarkson.
Well, you have to, like you said, the depth on Hazel Park is short. That bench is short.
Right, but
all
of them playing significant time.
And if you're going to call it tight, then
it does not favor Hazel Park.
No, it doesn't.
No. So we'll see what happens in that game. We'll recap that game on next week's pod.
Absolutely.
Of course, we'll get into more on basketball. I want to talk more basketball on this end of the break here. Okay, now we come back. We're going to talk more basketball here on Oaa Now.
This is Lake Orion's own, the local voice. Call ONTV and get on air 248-393-1060. Let your voice be heard. Internet radio for all. Call ONTV and get on air.
Oakland County is consistently ranked as one of the wealthiest counties in the nation, so it may come as a surprise to many when they find out that hunger is an ever-increasing problem in this area. Oxford Orion Fish Food Pantry does what it can to help battle hunger, but it needs your help. More than 350 individuals depend on the food pantry on a monthly basis, with over 15,000 pounds of food going out the door every month. 145,000 pounds of food helped feed the area's hungry in 2014 alone. The food pantry depends on annual food drives and the generosity of community organizations and businesses to help keep their shelves stocked.
I think we have more peaks than we really do valleys. This year we've been doubly, just very, very fortunate. Our stock has been wonderful. Food drives have been, I think it's like 25,000 pounds of food. We got from one food drive another 20,000. That is a good portion of the food that we put out a year. And then people bring in every day. They will come in with bags of food that they want to donate, and it's just we couldn't be in a better community. I'll tell you, it's just wonderful.
A single individual is limited to 50 pounds of food each month. A family of 7, 180 pounds. In addition to canned and dry goods, the pantry also needs household items such as soap, shampoo, toothpaste, and laundry detergent. Cash donations allow the pantry to purchase perishable items such as meat, bread, dairy, and fresh fruits and vegetables.
Fruit is more seasonal in the summer, like berries and things like that. But we're trying to give them a fresher, healthier choice. We have frozen chicken breasts and, that's a nice treat once in a while. Roasts and steaks and ground beef and all that stuff. So, and we just buy what we need. We fill in what does not get donated.
There are numerous drop-off locations established throughout the Oxford and Orion area that collect food year-round, such as the Lake Orion Post Office, Hollywood Market, and area churches. For a complete list or for contact information, visit their website at oxfordorionfish.org or give them a call at 248-628-3933.
Welcome back to Oaa Now. I'm Sammy Termini here with Ian Locke this week.
Yeah, back again, Sam. This chair's pretty comfortable. I like sitting over here.
Yeah, it looks
It's
nice.
got my name on it now.
It's got your name on it.
Yep.
Nice.
Well, we want to just all of our listeners out there just give you a quick promo about the big event coming up on Saturday, February 10th, the ONTV's 8th annual food drive benefiting the Oxford Orion Fish Food Pantry. And our goal is to raise 6,000 pounds of food, Sam. And we did over that last year, which was fantastic. And we just want to share some locations you can drop off food right now throughout Lake Orion. You can go to the village offices down on Church Street. You can drop off your donations there. The Orion Township Public Library and the township offices right across from Canterbury Village on Joslyn Road. You can also drop your items off here at ONTV at 1349 Joslyn Road, just south of Clarkston Road in the big Orion Center, the big blue building. And we also have our raffle prizes, Sam. We got a whole bunch of them. We have, I'm going to say, it's close to a record number of donations this year from our area businesses. So I want to thank them and the chamber, the Orion Chamber, and the director, Kim, for working with us and helping promote the food drive. And so we found out that Home Depot's donating a full-size leaf blower this year, which is fantastic. You nod your head. Could you use one of those?
Yeah, I need one bad. I got a big tree at my house.
And we have oil changes again from Golling and Skalnick Ford, which are hugely popular. The one that I really like, and I might bring all my donations and try to get this one, is $40 gift certificate for G's Pizza. Mm-hmm. And, their menu is fantastic. So That's always a very popular one. Mm-hmm. But also, Simply Marcella down in the village has donated a pearl necklace, over $100 value, which is fantastic. And we want to thank a longtime supporter of the food drive is Simply Marcella downtown. Mm-hmm. So, if you want some more information, give us a call at 248-393-1060 or visit our website at orionontv.org. We have our 5 or 5 food drive website up. So click and find out more about what's happening. So. Thanks, Sam, for giving me a couple minutes to do that. And but who are we talking about next?
We got the Berkley Bears. A couple weeks ago, we talked about they were undefeated. Not anymore.
Yes.
But they were undefeated for the first time since 1984. And then they've lost 2 or 3. I mean, now the 2 teams they lost to have played really difficult schedules, non-conference schedules, really toughened non-conference when you look at Rochester and Lake Orion.
Yep.
But, let's look at Berkley. I mean, this has been a basketball, and I saw them play a couple times. Berkley looked, they didn't look great against Royal Oak the other day. And then when they played Lake Orion, they were just blitzkrieg right out of their own gym.
Really?
I mean, 28-6 in that first quarter. That was a
And that was pretty much the difference.
That was the game. You know what I mean? When you look at the Berkley Bears.
What was the final on that one?
67-45.
Yikes.
And you look at the game with Rochester where they lost 71-55. Now, for Berkley, they still got to go to both Lake Orion and Rochester.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they got a really good Farmington team coming in there. going. I mean, like they got to play. Basically, that's not going to be an easy stretch for Berkley. But when you look at the Bears last year, they were not good. They really struggled, and it was Joe Thermal's first year over there, and as a varsity coach. And you look at this year, of course, when you look at the Bears, the record says something. The record does say something.
Yeah.
And they were off to a unbeaten start. Scott Bernstein, of course, in my prep zone said that, this was the team that they were hyping it up. And all of a sudden,
yes, they were.
and I'm responding to Scott, I'm going, wait a minute here. Look at their non-conference. Look at who they played.
Yeah.
They've really played two teams that I thought would give them problems, and they did give them problems early on. In Madison Heights Bishop Foley, who Berkley beat. And then you look at, of course, Madison Heights Madison, who Berkley beat. So,
but you kind of called this.
I
you
had
did.
to know.
I mean, you
I knew
set
it was
up.
coming with Berkley. I knew it was coming. I said, look at Berkley. I'm saying they're not going to be undefeated long because you look at Rochester, who I think is a better team than they are, and I look at Lake Orion, who I think is a better team than they are. Farmington and Berkley, I think, are pretty much. I think Farmington's more athletic than Berkley, but Berkeley's more. I think Berkeley's more defensive sound. So when you look at that matchup, I think that's an even steel matchup. But even though I think Farmington a little more athletic than Berkley, I wouldn't surprise me if Berkeley loses this one on Tuesday night against Berkeley loses against Farmington.
Is it on the road? Home.
That is at Farmington. I mean, and even in their game with Ferndale, Berkeley had a lot of problems in that one. Won that one by 5.
Okay.
But, when you look at the teams in the blue division right now, when you look at that whole blue, the Berkeley situation, that to me, the record is better than what their talent is right now. Now, Berkeley's got a lot of seniors. They've got a lot of seniors who basically have been through it a lot.
Yep. And
they got a very good player in Greg McGee. But when you look at Berkeley, people are going to say, it's a talented team. They're a good team. But the schedule they played, I don't think has really prepared them enough, for this type of situation. I mean, clearly, when you look at those 2 losses they had, the Rochester and Lake Orion, Rochester has played a more vicious schedule than Berkeley. Lake Orion has definitely played a more vicious schedule than Berkeley. So,
would you say those 2 are a little more athletic than
I think they're a little bit
Berkeley,
more. Well,
or is it the style of play that kind of bit them?
I think it's the style of play that kind of bit them. I mean, because Berkeley, I know, they have a lot of dribble drivers.
Okay.
They're a dribble drive team. They like to attack the basket. Rochester's a team, of course, we know they have a LaMarco Gulich. They're big up front. They got younger brother, Corey Gulich, who's also not a bad player, and then you have Hunter Slasher, the other guard. Lake Orion, on the other hand, of course, they've been getting key contributions from other players besides Jamie Lewis. I mean, when you look at that team, Lake Orion.
It's not a one-man band.
It's not a one-man band when you look at Lake Orion. I mean, people say, about the Dragons, it's the Jamie Lewis show, but it's not. But
it can appear that way
because
he's got spectacular.
But it can appear that way.
Spectacular stuff out there.
It does appear that way, but they got other players that can contribute too. But Lake Orion. I mean, when you look at Berkeley, I mean, it clears to me when I look at this basketball team, the non-conference schedule has clearly not helped this team.
Yeah, it
has not. And
well, you mentioned that weeks ago.
I mentioned it weeks ago, and I think people are finally starting to listen to it now.
Well, I am. I know, hey, man, you're undefeated. Let's go.
You're undefeated. Let's go. But have you played anybody?
Yeah. And I haven't seen them in person. So,
no.
Sometimes the eyeball test is the greatest.
I have seen the eyeball test on them. And
I mean, you've seen teams that could have 4 losses. And you go, how are they at 4 losses? They look phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, but when you look at, there's been some teams here that have played pretty much a very difficult schedule,
Yeah.
and yet they have 6 losses, you know?
Yeah.
I'm going to use, of course, Stony Creek has not been the same team without Mike Molinari.
And he's been out
And
for
he's
a while.
been out for a while.
Yeah.
And you look at Seaholm, all the injuries they played. Got a big one last week against Adams. Adams is a pretty young team, but Adams, all of a sudden, are 2-4 since their 5-0 start.
Oh, wow.
And they've got a very young team, of course, led by a freshman point guard in Ethan Emerson. He's been really good for them. And you look at, and yeah, Adams got Jack Jenkins as well. But, the schedule they're playing, you know what I mean? I think that's gotten them prepared. They had a 5-0 start, but I got to question their 5 opponents who they beat.
Yeah.
But when they got into league play, you know what I mean? They've fallen back to earth.
How many games are left on the docket for most of these teams?
Well, probably around 9 or 8.
Okay, so we're just over the midway
We're
point.
just over the midway point of the boys' season. But when I look at, I do want to talk about a team that our good friends at Oxford Community Television haven't had the pleasure of lately, having to call their games lately because they haven't been home a lot. It's the Oxford Wildcats.
Yeah.
And, for Oxford, they are a very good home team. Not a good team on the road, though. I mean,
which is kind of surprising when we saw them at Lake Orion, right? I mean, it was a
good game.
It was a fantastic game. A nail biter.
Yeah, it was a nail biter.
You're going, boy, they're going someplace. And then nothing really happened on the road.
Well, Oxford is 4-1 at home. They are 4-1 at home. You know what the record is on the road? 1-5.
Yeah, tough.
And they're playing some good competition. There's no doubt about it. You're playing at Oak Park. You're playing.
But you'd hope to go 500 on the road.
Yeah, you're hoping to go 500 on the road. But when you're 1-5 on the road, that's a concern. I mean, when you look at Coach Steve-Law's team, of course, yeah, he's got a young team. I mean, I mentioned I like Jimmy Claudio, I like Michael Raish, Noah Harding. You know what I mean? He's been in and out of the lineup, but when you look at Oxford, you know what I mean? This is a team that is finally happy to be back home, where they have played really, really well at. And I think, when you're a basketball team, to be at the comforts of home really helps you out, when you look at these type of teams.
Yeah.
And, you look at...
Has their home and away schedule been split evenly, or has it been like, well, we got 3 on the road? Is it been unbalanced, or is it just kind of
been a little unbalanced, you know what I mean? But when you look at, of course, Lake Orion girls basketball, when they've had 7 games on the road.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Yes, it is brutal. You know what I mean? But when you look at some of these teams, you know what I mean? I'm looking at the records aren't as great, as Berkley's. But back to Berkley a little bit. But when you look at the stretch that Berkley's played, and people have criticized their non-conference, like me.
Yeah.
And when you have if you're playing a tough schedule, that record's not as good as people indicate.
Yeah.
But when you look at, if there's teams that are legitimately playing teams that are, look at the teams right now. When you look at Hazel Park, Clarkston, Troy. I mean, like Rochester, Lake Orion, Troy, West Bloomfield, Oak Park. I mean, like even Avondale. You know what I mean? Even Adams, and all these teams, they played a tough schedule.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They've played teams that are virtually very difficult. And you look at, so, I mean, I was not by, and that's one of the reasons why I dropped Berkley down to 17.
Here's a question for you, Sam. Is the preseason schedule, is that strictly in the hands of the coach to set that up?
Well, the coach and athletic director have to be on the same page.
Yeah, and so they kind of set it up going, hey, let's play these guys. Maybe they weren't sure what they had, but
it's getting wins early. It helps with your confidence.
Yes.
Look at Adams. Last year they were 0-21.
Yeah.
And they had a 5-0 start, and now they're 2-4 since then. And now you look at, I think, getting wins, I think evening out your non-conference schedule helps you out.
Yeah.
It's going to help you out. Now, when you look at when you look at, of course, playing a vicious schedule like Hazel Park has, going basically playing all these Detroit teams,
It's obviously paid dividends.
it's paid dividends for them, and look where they're at. I mean, you look at where Clarkston at. They played a tough schedule.
Yeah.
You look at, of course, where Lake Orion's at. I mean, they played virtually a tough schedule when you look at when you're counting with Davison.
Yeah.
You're counting you played Clarkston, and of course now Romeo's starting to become a good win for this group. I mean, so when you look at
do you think Berkley might come back to level and go 500? Do you think they're going to have a stretch like that? Or are you thinking more, 5 games over, 3 games over?
Well, when I look at Berkeley's rest of the schedule, I think that they got. It's hard to tell with Berkley because when you look at the schedule that they've got left,
yeah,
they still got to go to Rochester, Lake Orion. You pretty much know. I think those are 2 losses right there. I think Farmington for sure. I think I would say Farmington. That's 2 more losses right there.
Oh,
that's 2 losses right there. So
they could be looking at a 6-3.
I think
5-4.
they're going to be. I think they'll probably go maybe 5-4, maybe 4-5 down the stretch.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because I don't think that schedule's really helped them.
Yeah.
I mean, when you really look at Berkley, I think eventually Joe Thurmo's going to have to really toughen that up for him. He's got a great freshman class down there. But I think he's going to have to really toughen that schedule up. I mean, when you look at all the other teams that have really toughened up their non-conference schedule, yeah, they're struggling now, but they're going to get better in the long term. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying what I'm saying here is, and I'm not saying it directly to bash Berkley, and is if you want to get confidence with your schedule, your non-conference schedule, sure. Yeah. But you got to have games where you got to play some tough competition. You know what I mean? Take your lumps, you know what I mean? Because in the long haul, you're going to get better from it.
Yeah.
And here, I think Berkley tried.
Berkley relatively healthy?
I mean, they're healthy right now. They're virtually healthy right now. But I'm saying right now, I think that's the team I would really, really criticize right now with their non-conference. I mean, but, when you look at others, Adams, of course, having that 5-0 start, helping them out with their confidence, but 2-4 sits.
Yeah.
I mean,
especially having a freshman point guard, right?
Mm-hmm, and Ethan Emerson, and of course you have Jack Jenkins. Most of Adams' team really is freshman, sophomore, laden.
So you can see why you might schedule the first 5 if you're going to call those quote unquote easier, or let's say winnable. Well, that's a good way to put it.
Winnable.
So you can get confidence for them young guys, and it's worked.
It's worked for them.
Yeah,
it's worked for them. I mean, and then you look at, of course, a team like, I'm going to use Southfield for example. They sit at 1-10 right now.
Yeah,
and they played a tough schedule.
Yes, they did.
They played a really vicious schedule. I mean, they're a virtually young team. I mean, and you got to look at it from the future and all that aspect of it. That's why a team like Southfield's really struggling right now.
Yeah.
I mean, and then you look at others like Pontiac. Pontiac's played a tough schedule. You look at them. Then, of course, you look at all the other teams in the blue. You look at, of course, Stony Creek with that injury to Mount Airy. You look at North Farmington. They're a very young team, but they got some things they got to address. So, but in Avondale, they played a vicious schedule.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They played a tough schedule, and look where they're at. I mean, but I think, I think you got to know your team.
Yeah, and I think it bears out. I mean, you've been talking about it. I think even in the football season, if you go light and you run into stiff competition, sometimes you don't know how to handle yourself. You don't know how to react.
That's how I thought of what teams like Royal Oak and Troy. Of course, those 2 teams, when they got in the playoffs, Troy, I was really critical of them, how they got in, especially with them beating the teams that they were supposed to beat, then getting killed by the teams that they were supposed to get killed by, and then they got Waterford Mott, and look what happened to them.
Yeah, wiped out.
Yep, and then you look at Royal Oak, same thing. I mean, playing teams that, that you are superior to.
Yeah.
And then doing very well. And then when you get to playoffs, you know what I mean, you're playing a really good opponent, and Royal Oak got that with Oak Park, and Oak Park just took them behind the woodshed and just destroyed them.
And sometimes, like we were mentioning there, that if let's say you have a young team and you want to build their confidence, right? But you're also looking to the future, right? So maybe incrementally as you go through, let's say you have freshmen, sophomores, as they hit that sophomore, junior, senior, you start ramping up that competition in the non-conference. As you know what your team can handle.
Right.
And ultimately, you hope by the time your core group is upperclassmen, seasoned, grizzled veterans, that once they hit that stage, then they start to
then they're gonna start
really start making some noise or whatever.
But I get it from a schedule perspective, but I'm not. But when you look at the when the way you play scheduling, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's difficult.
Yep.
It's really difficult, to say the least. You know what I mean?
But they won their games too. At Berkley, they won their games.
They won their games.
2 losses right now,
right.
and potentially more on the horizon.
They won't
but
have.
Who knows? Maybe they'll surprise somebody.
They're not going to have a losing season, though. That's the guarantee right there.
Yeah.
If you win 10 games, you're not going to have a losing season.
Yeah, you got to be doing something right, because you're not going to go over in the remaining.
Well, there and there's some good news around the OA. There's going to be nobody in the league this year that's going to go winless. So that does.
That's good.
That is really, really good right there. And the boys' side of things. I want to talk about girls in a little bit, and I want to talk about my football. I want about my early season football rankings. We are talking. I can't believe we're talking football right now.
It seems like we got done with it last week.
Yeah, it seems like it. But still, as mentioned, we have a vacancy still available at Troy Athens.
Yeah.
Of course, we know it's coaching there. We talked about last week with Stony Creek going with Merlot as their head coach. I mean, with Nick Merlot as their head coach. I mean, it's a really interesting hire there. But when I look at the teams right now, these are my early. I'm not gonna put these on a preview show.
You just had some time. You sat around. You made a list.
Yeah, I had some time. Made a little list. Clearly, I think the best team in the league right now is Oak Park, and Oak Park's got a ton of talent coming back. They should be really good. They should be. Groves right now is a solid number 2. West Bloomfield right now, high 3, despite the fact they lost a ton of talent. Clarkston, Clarkston was senior heavy last year.
Yes.
They lost a ton of talent. Adams, same thing, lost a ton of talent. Despite the fact they have a quarterback named Carter Ferris, who, if you watch the Lake Orion Adams game on ONTV, you're going to have well known what he did.
Yes.
And you look at Harrison in their final season. Avondale made a nice run until they ran into Brandon. Of course, how they lost that one on a field goal.
Yeah.
They got some players coming
Brandon
back.
was tough, man.
Southfield's got a lot coming back. Lake Orion's got a ton coming back on offense. Defense is not. Defense will be severely challenged there. Oxford's got a lot coming back, but they got some questions at quarterback. Ferndale lost a ton of skilled players, but they're still going to be very good. They have a ton of linemen back. Seaholm, experience, you know what I mean? They got some experience. Bloomfield Hills. Now we're going to see what type of team Bloomfield Hills is without John Paddock and Jack Sape.
Yeah.
We're going to see what type of team they're made out of. Berkley, of course, you know what I mean? The Lions is the one they got to address, but the move down, the Blues going to help them out. Troy, of course, as mentioned, got to replace a ton of talent. Rochester's got the skilled players, questions up front. North Farmington, of course, Bobby Kansas team should be better this year. And I've been personally helping with these new football uniforms.
Ooh.
Yeah, I've been personally helping them, telling them to get rid of the white helmets. Get rid of the white helmets.
Yeah.
Save the white pants for the road. If you look at North Farmington's jersey style this year, last few years, it's been really disturbing.
You're losing sleep over the uniform combos.
Oh, yeah. And then you look at Royal Oak, of course. They got some talent coming back, but they got to replace the key positions. Stony Creek, of course, as mentioned, got a quarterback competition.
Yeah.
Troy Athens, no coach right now, but they're going to be very young. Hazel Park's virtually a new team because they lost a ton of talent. from a year ago. Farmington got to make a big step this year. Pontiac's got the athletes, but they got some questions with the numbers surrounding them. But if there's a team, I think I might go all Mike Valenti this year. It's probably going to be the Farmington Falcons. I mean,
really?
Yes, because when I look at the hire of Corey Roach over there last year, I thought to myself, I thought it was going to be an okay move, and then I went home and thought about it over, and I go like, what are you thinking? What are you doing? What are you doing? When you look at all the coaching hires from last year, of course, Lake Orion with John Blackstock, I didn't have to question that one.
Yeah, long
time coach there. Troy, of course, with Chris Frazier coaching that team over there. And then taking over there. But Farmington, that might be the team I go all Mike Valenti out. So if Farmington loses a game that they're supposed to win, if they lose a game they're supposed to win, that may be one where I go all Mike Valenti.
Instead of Mike Valenti, go all Sammy.
Yeah.
Sammy T. Maybe it's different.
I remember that epic rant he made a couple of years ago, like, big plays! Big plays! I had a couple of those last year with Farmington. I had a couple of those. I thought I wanted to go all Mike Valenti, but I decided to go peaceful.
That's good. It helps your blood pressure, dude. It brings it down a little. Take a breath.
Yeah.
So, and we saw, too, some schedules have been released, right?
Yes.
Some interesting
week 1 games.
Yeah.
Of course, you look at Davison and Southfield are going to be playing at Atwood Stadium. Of course, you know where Atwood Stadium is, right? Flint.
So how are they picking these venues?
Well, of course, last year Southfield played Davison at Wayne State.
Okay.
But Davison's got a new coaching staff there. So it'll be very interesting there. The Big House, Michigan Stadium.
Yeah.
Will be very interesting. You got 2 games there. 2 games will be very interesting there.
Yes.
You got Oxford. You got Clarkston taking on Granville to start off.
Granville.
Week 1.
Really? I did not hear.
Stadium.
That should be a good game.
And then you have Lake Orion, Lapeer. That'll be a good matchup.
That was a surprise when that came across my email.
Lake Orion, Lapeer. That's a good matchup because Lapeer's got a very good running back, very good quarterback. Lake Orion's defense will be testing that one. But I think Lake Orion's got a very good offense. I think they're going to be solid in that one. We haven't heard anything from the Prep Kickoff Classic at Wayne State yet. I think Oak Park will be there in that one. But there's some interesting matchups when you look at some early season matchups. I think Oxford's playing Romeo to kick off the year.
Really?
Which I think that's going to be a really interesting matchup for because you got 2
just down the road.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting matchup right there.
Natural rivalry.
Natural rivalry there.
Now Lapeer, I'll go back to Lake Orion, Lapeer. I don't know if you were talking about this and going, how do you get Lapeer into like a North Oakland County League, or somebody was mentioning that around the offices here at ONTV about how do you get Lapeer involved, because they're Flint Metro still, or
no,
what are
Lapeer's
they?
in the Valley,
Saginaw Valley.
They're
Okay,
in the Saginaw Valley, so it'll be a very interesting matchup to say the least for sure.
You get them.
Mm-hmm. So it'll be very interesting. So Lapeer's a really good football team. Really good football team.
Yeah.
So
we'll see at the Big House, that was like, and the big question then was, is ONTV going to drag their cameras over to U of M to do the game? No. We might have some guys on the sideline recording, that sort of thing, the highlights to and get some access that way.
Yeah.
But I thought some of those games, like at Wayne State or at U of M, like Fox Sports would stream them. Am I wrong? I thought those games were.
I don't know.
I thought they were televised in some form or another.
I don't know, but at least mention we'll keep an eye on a lot of these games coming up. I will post the games early on the blog at sammysemicolon@blogspot.com.
We got a while before football.
We got a while before football start. We still got spring to go too.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to spring.
Okay. I got some girls basketball to talk about too as well. A little bit before we wrap up this
Yeah.
week's
What do we got, Sammy? Got some updates?
Yep, we got some interesting games. Of course, my top 23 for girls basketball has been out. Clarkston, of course, number 1 ranked team. Groves won a big one over Royal Oak the other day. So that was a huge game, huge win for them. Southfield, my 4 right now. I think they're starting to get it. North Farmington, number 5. Missing a 6-game road trip. Farmington, of course, big win against Avondale. Of course, I've been getting a lot of praise from Farmington. I mean, of course, especially I really like the way that team is played. I really like Farmington's girls basketball team, the way that they've been playing. I really love the addition of Nevada Hargress and Olivia Perkins there.
Yeah.
And, of course, the new coach there and Laura Guzman. I really love the hire. That was a great hire that Mary Sheltron made, hiring Laura Guzman. They have gotten everything together. They've won 10 games. I mean, I really like this Farmington girls basketball team there. The team they beat Avondale, they're 8-2. Bloomfield Hills, they're 6-5 right now. I mean, despite the fact they had some tough losses there. Oxford, of course, had a tough loss to Groves. I mean, they only scored 20 points in that one.
Boy.
Groves is very good, though, by the way. You got Roy Oak and Grove still having to come to Oxford, so that'd be a really interesting trip for both those teams.
Yeah.
But I think they're a fine team right now. My 10th best team right now, I think it's Stony Creek, because despite the fact they're not scoring well offensively, defensively they're very good. I really like that team there. Adams is my 11th best team.
Okay.
And then you look at Lake Orion, despite all the injuries, all the problems surrounding this program. And they got some big problems.
Yeah.
They're
playing harder, but they just can't seem to get off the schneid there.
Well, they're having some trouble right now a little bit when you look at that team. Berkley right now is my team that's red hot right now. They're surging right now. Seaholm right now sits at 14. I got Troy at 15. West Bloomfield, they're struggling as well. Troy Athens, they're struggling. Rochester right now at 18. Oak Park 19, Hazel Park 20, Pontiac 21, Ferndale 22.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens going forward with them. My final thoughts this week, we'll see what happens going forward. Be very interesting to see what happens.
Yep.
All right, now, everybody, I'm going to sign off here. Take care, everybody.
Yep.
See y'all next week.
Take it easy, Sam.
Yep.
Again, our food drive's coming up. ONTV's 5 or 5 food drive is just around the corner, Saturday, February 10th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., but we will be taking donations right now around the Lake Orion area, Township Hall, Village Hall, and the Public Library, and here at ONTV Studios at 1349 Joslyn Road. Help us collect 6,000 pounds of food this year for fish. Need to restock those shelves. Hope we can count on you, our listeners and fans of ONTV and of this podcast. This podcast is produced by Sammy Taramina and his views alone. We'll see you next week.